Hello there.
Hey,
Welcome to another case study with Spencer Combs, and I am here with Stephen Price. And if you can't see it in the camera right there, Allstate. So if you're a business owner, or maybe you're a personal development junkie and you're looking to really move yourself forward and you want to grow, then you're in the right place. Because today we're going to be talking with Steve, and I'm going to share with you a little bit about why I'm having this conversation with Steve in just a moment. But most likely you're the kind of person who is hungry for more. You're really looking to do more with yourself and your business. Two, you enjoy hearing small tidbits of information that you know can move your business forward, because as we both know, sometimes it's just the distinctions, the small little adjustments that make the biggest difference. So you're here for that, and actually, you like to take action. People that actually move forward usually take action. Not usually, they always do. That's the bridge between having and wanting and actually having. So Stephen Price, tell us a little bit about you, your business, and we're recording this in the early part of 2020.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe we should just tell us about 2019 first. How did 19 go for you?
2019 was a good year. We actually acquired an additional Allstate agency early 2019. We were able to kind of rehab, turn that book around, get it going in a better direction. And we finished out December, out of the past 5 Decembers that we've been in business, December 2019 has been our best, most productive December yet. And typically in insurance, December is the first of 2 or 3 months where things kind of go into a lull and slow down. So we're excited about having that good of a December.
So you're coming into January then with some momentum.
We are.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 2019 was a year where you had a lot of transitions.
We did. We added staff. We added a new agency, or the second location, some adjustments. So lots of change in 2019.
Yeah, and I'm going to look forward to digging into a little bit of that specifically, because one of the things I also know about you is that you made a big transition with your career, because looking at you and everything you've done this past year, you just assume anybody that met you would just assume you've been doing this for decades.
Yes. And actually, I'd been in healthcare for 29 years. And about 6 years ago, wanted to do something different. Specifically wanted to get into small business, looked at multiple different franchises, ended up going towards insurance. And then we actually purchased our first agency in April of 2015. So we've been in insurance almost 5 years.
Almost 5 years. Wow. Well, and the reason I think it's important, I talk to people all the time, and they're always talking, I wish I could get out of this kind of work and I want to do a different kind of work. So for you, I guess you stepped into this, and everybody always asks the question, which comes first, the chicken or the egg, right? Do I go from, and you guys call it scratch business, right? That's starting an insurance business from the ground up,
right? Versus
Versus buying a book. That's what you were just referring to.
Correct.
You just chose to buy a book?
I bought a very small book. The first business I bought, it classified as a scratch because it was a very small book.
Okay.
And then we grew it. Then we acquired a second book. And then March of 2019, we purchased a third book at a new location, our satellite office.
Gotcha. So there's really been like 3 books, if you will, in this whole evolution getting here.
Yes.
All right. I'm curious because you see so many insurance agencies. I mean, I didn't notice that until I started working with you. You're just driving down the road, and not necessarily just Allstate. There's
a lot of people in insurance.
Yeah. It's just like churches, I guess, in my mind. I'm just thinking outside of the box for a minute. You're thinking, why would there be so many when they could just, grow much faster and better together? And I guess that's kind of what you've been doing, isn't it?
That's been our focus. We've been trying to figure out a way to where we can kind of consolidate. I wouldn't say monopolize the market, but I guess every small business owner wants to do that,
right?
Kind of even in the back of their head. to beat the competitor. We want to offer a better product, a better experience, a better service than our competitor.
Right.
So just through natural process, that in itself should help us continue to reach our goals that we put out.
I'm bringing this up because the whole service into this, and why go bigger versus just maintaining your small thing. I think I know this from my experience with the real estate world as well, where people they hesitate to grow because they're afraid that the level of service will go down. But business owners like yourself have learned that your business level, your service level actually goes up when you have the right people doing the right stuff.
That's the key. What you just said, you have to have the right people doing the right jobs. We actually had someone come in that had been in sales and they were not very successful at it, but they've been exceptional at service. We had someone that came in with some sales experience that initially started out with service, and we found out they're probably going to be a rock star at sales.
Yeah.
And so it's really just identifying some characteristics that those individuals have, and then helping them nurture that, helping them grow it, offering them the training and the processes. That's a big thing in insurance, is process.
Sure.
And then guiding them through that, and then helping them reach their potential.
Got it. So let's jump into this. We have 5 major areas of business that we focus on, especially when we do our qualified champion, the business champion. And I'm going to run through those real quick. I'm just going to make sure I got my little notes here in front of me.
Sure.
Cheat sheet. There are, just as soon as I said that, it disappeared on me. Not that I don't know what it is all from the top of my head. So I'm going to run from the top down.
Okay.
So the top would be what we call excellence. So that has to do with culture. That has to do with the hiring, the firing, the people. So probably a good way to segue into this conversation anyway. You were just referring to that. 2019 being such a transitional year, you just said you had some that we got rid of, some that we got in, some that we moved around. What would you say some of your key points in 2019 or this past year that have really helped you get to where you've had a stellar December and moving into 2020 with momentum?
Sticking with the process. When I first started out as an insurance agent, Allstate particularly, and I suspect most insurance companies do this, they have a program, and process is the most used word that they have. Everything's about a process, but you always think, well, I want to leave this piece out, or I want to do it this way instead. And then you become overwhelmed pretty quickly. And that's what I did. And that first year or so, it was difficult to make that transition. Having come from healthcare, you have processes as well. But those were so ingrained. It's like, well, this is how I do things. And it was like using a separate part of my brain that had not been used much before in the business world. And so it was difficult to make that transition. But once we did that, once we realized, no, it really is a process. And if you follow the process, it really does work. And so that was really the eye-opening key for us. Other people would go ahead.
I was just going to say, speak specifically though about the culture, because when I walk into this office, it's been a little bit of an adjustment through the year, and now I walk in and everybody's they're driving, things are working together. Maybe what does your hiring process look like, since we're talking about process? What is your rhythm in terms of keeping the culture in such a way that they're being both productive and positive? Because those are 2 areas that are usually a challenge.
In the hiring process, I would much prefer to bring someone in that's been referred to me, that I know well. Somebody that I know well refers someone to me. That's by far and above the best way to get good help.
You got any suggestions on how to get the word out that way?
Anytime you're in any kind of business meeting, whether it's like a BNI group, a Chamber of Commerce, anything like that, anyone you come across that you have an acquaintance with, hey, if you know anybody that's looking to make a change in their career, I'm looking for talent in sales. I'm looking for talent in service. So if you know of anyone looking, give me a call, let me know, give them my number. Here's my card. Get them in touch with me. Another more simple, but perhaps less used way is if you're out at a restaurant and you've got a server that is like above and beyond service you've had in a while, and you're like, man, this person deserves a really big tip. Just ask them. You ever think about a career change?
Somebody that you would like to actually work with?
Right.
Yeah.
And you enjoy it. They're not just there taking your order. They're not just, writing down, taking kind of rote instructions, but they're asking about you. They're engaging. You almost want to invite them to sit down and share a meal with you, kind of personality. And every once in a while, you'll run across someone like that.
Right.
Those are the people you want to say, hey, you ever think about a career change? Just to get the conversation going. And they may say, no, I love this and I want to be a server the rest of my life, but most are not going to.
No, not in that scenario, especially if you can sense some level of hunger.
Exactly.
So now we've got somebody, do you have a process for onboarding yet or anything like that in terms of we're going to talk to you? What does your hiring process look like in a general sense?
Typically, our first step will just that first step of communication. Hey, would you think about a career change? Or if somebody refers, initially it starts with like a 5-minute phone call just to get a quick sense of how are they on the phone? How do they come across? Are they doing most of the talking? I want to do most of the listening and see how well they're communicating with me. Depending on how that conversation goes, then either is an invitation to, hey, well, why don't you let's schedule some time for you to come in this next week and sit down and talk. And then that would be like a first interview.
Got it. So then you go through a series of interviews at some point.
Correct.
And then if they fit, we bring them on board.
Right.
Got it.
The key factor in that interview, though, is showing and setting those expectations of what is expected of them from the get-go, so that there's accountability. When they walk in the door and they come in and they sit down, they know exactly what they're getting into, and they know surprises. That they're going to be held accountable to that. Right. So that, like you said, there's no surprises and they don't have that, well, I didn't know I was going to have to actually work. They're going to know that when that first interview takes place.
The culture is really created before they're even on board, at least through the expectations.
Yeah, they're going to get a clear sense of it.
And then by that, everybody else is already in that same mindset, if you will. Right. And so then we get together, we plug them in, give them the tools necessary to move forward.
Yes.
Which we're going to talk about that in just a minute. So now I'm going to move to the next piece of this because it's probably the part that most business owners probably spend too much time. I don't know if it's really that's the right word, not the right word. Excuse me. They obsess over it and don't do it very well. Exposure, which is in reference to the marketing and sales end of this conversation. So I think, when people understand their culture, it's a lot easier to actually attract business.
Yes.
So when we get into the exposure piece, maybe just bottom line, maybe 2 to 3 major avenues of sources. Where do you get most of your business? And then we'll dig into maybe a little bit about how you guys pursue that business or prospect, and then how do we have a process for how that flows into becoming a customer?
Okay. Probably the best and most important is just referrals. Those are always going to have higher close ratios. Typically, those are people that we have relationships with, whether it's, again, through a chamber of commerce, through a church, through a local BNI, whatever your circle of influence is. If those people in your circle of influence know that you're passionate about what you're doing and that you know what you're doing, they're going to be more willing to do business with you. In those situations, it's not that you're always trying to push off or sell your product. It's just they know that you understand your industry well,
Mhm.
and they're going to want to do business with you.
So you carry yourself in a manner that helps people understand you are the premier person to talk to. You're the expert when it comes
Right.
to an insurance conversation
Right.
or
Right.
whatever industry.
And
you're
that's
watching.
how we want our entire staff to be, all the way down from a receptionist all the way up to our financial specialist. I
Mhm.
mean, everybody's going to know why it's important to protect yourself against everyday risk.
Right. Got it. So referrals is one. What other avenues do we have?
I've tried, I think, all of them at one point or another, and
I,
there's a lot of them.
and I think that's one of the things. That's one of the things I was getting at with a lot of business owners. That if you don't have any, uh, problem is we get so inundated online with so many ideas and thoughts and suggestions and opinions. And so someone like you gets plugged into this,
Yeah.
and you're coming from a healthcare world, so you really don't know anything other than what's being told.
Right.
And so you just keep testing and trying and working on different things until eventually things will maybe share with us some of the things that you tried that didn't work. How about that?
There's been a lot of things, and you can go broke really quick spending money on marketing. Most of what we think of as marketing is actually PR
Mhm.
for insurance, billboards, bus bench seats, flyers, um, radio, television commercials. That's just public relations.
Mhm.
That's not marketing. That's not going to make somebody pick up the phone and dial and say, oh my goodness, I need insurance because I saw this guy on a billboard.
Mhm.
If you have the funds to where you can do multiple modalities like that, if you're doing billboard and radio and mailers and calling those people, then yes, that helps.
Mhm.
Most people don't have a budget of 10 to 12,000 plus a month to
Mhm.
spend on that kind, and that's about what that would cost you to do that.
Mhm.
Um, Really, as simple as it is, and this will frustrate some people, but you find what works and that's what you stick with.
Mhm.
What has worked for me is direct mail.
Okay.
Direct mail has been a big thing. I do a fair amount of it. There are other agencies I know that are doing 100,000+ pieces a month, but those are big agencies and they can afford it. But the reason they're sending out 100,000 pieces of mail a month is because they're getting a return on it.
Because it works. Yeah.
You don't spend $35,000 a month sending out mail and it not work month after month after month.
You wouldn't be able to. You wouldn't be able to.
Right.
So when it comes to direct mail, I always teach people that there's two factors. It's consistency and content.
Yes.
So how often are you mailing, and is it to the same group of people? That's question number
Mhm.
one. And question number two is, what is the nature of the content? Because I think a lot of business owners say, oh, I want to get into direct mail. I'm going to use something like EDDM, which is every door direct from the post office.
Right.
And they'll send out a flyer to a subdivision or something, or a little
Right.
area, and they don't get any return at all.
Right.
So how often are you sending it, and is it to the same group? So basically, are you going after the same group regularly? And two, what's the nature of the content? Maybe not all the details, but what's the nature of the content?
I don't ever do every door direct because that's kind of a shotgun approach, and you're going to get customers that are already customers, and you're wanting fresh prospects.
Mhm.
There's going to be prospects in there that you don't want that aren't going to qualify, and so you're really wasting a lot of money
Mhm.
on those. So for whatever area you're in, you want to really nail it down to the demographic of what you want your book to look like.
Mhm.
Those are the people you're going to target. So it'll be specific individuals. Allstate has software that you can use, Quote Burst. I think Robo Agent is another one that's a quoting platform.
Mhm.
And I'm sure other companies have other types of quoting systems out there, but we use Quote Burst. And so we have a system in place to where we direct it toward a specific demographic. We will send out a one-time mailer.
And by demographic, you're referring to like economic status, married,
age,
number of children, families,
homeowners,
right?
that type of thing.
Right.
Exactly. And so then we will typically mail 2,000 to 3,000 pieces of mail out per week for that particular demographic. And we usually stay about 6 weeks or so ahead. We look for people that are ex-dating, meaning that their homeowners insurance is coming up for renewal.
Mm-hmm.
So right now we're sending out our last bit of mail for February, X dates.
So I'm going to slow this down for just
Sure.
a second, because there are some people that are looking to get into business and they're looking to get in direct mailing, and they're going, holy cow, hold on. He just said like multiple programs, technology galore. That's what I just heard.
Right.
That's what I heard. And I'm sure that's
Right.
what they're going to hear too. The point of all that, though, is that you're being very targeted about who you're going after for an insurance product. Now, some industries, by the way, have to be a little bit more broad, and they can't target as easily or as well because of the laws.
And insurance is like that, because in insurance, you can't give a coupon. You can't give big discounts. It can only be content, and it can only be basically a quote that is based on the information that we have. And
so you guys actually generate a quote or a general suggest, because I've gotten one of these letters before where it says you qualify for this kind of amount.
This is an estimated quote for what your homeowners would be for the next 12 months.
And you guys have technology that gives that information.
Correct.
Right. So I can see why then you guys would actually get a response, because it feels very personal. Right. Even though you guys are sending out, like what did you say, 2,000?
Yeah, about 2,000 a week.
So you get 2,000 pieces that go out, but they're all practically personalized.
They are. They are. Correct.
And so with that, that's the reason you guys are getting a better return.
Yes.
So I'm only bringing that up because there are people that, again, that shotgun approach that you were referring to is probably not working unless you can find a way to really get it specific to the person that's going to grab it.
That's correct.
And you're doing it every week.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. There's all kind of technology. There's one that I know of that may help. Is it Sales Genie?
Yes.
Sales Genie will do stuff like that in terms of clarifying. The reason I know that is because, insurance companies use them. So does real estate.
Real estate, yeah.
That you can literally look up things like if they own a boat.
Right.
If they have, like, kind of what they have, what belongs at that house.
Right. There's Sales Genie is a very robust prospect tool. There's a lot of filters within Sales Genie that you can add to your list, and you can really narrow it down to a very specific demographic.
Perfect. Yep. So I guess if somebody was watching this or listening to it, they would want to know. That's why I wanted to bring that up, is because if they're thinking about, so I want to be more targeted, I got to find a tool that's going to help me more targeted. Right. And maybe the person that's listening or watching is maybe they own an auto shop, right? And they have no particular interest in the insurance world. Right. However, they can do direct mail if they chose and get it very targeted. So a household that has at least 3 cars.
Right? Yes, and you can do that. You can specify how many cars per household, people in the household, number of people, number of children, that type of thing.
Awesome. So that gets the phones ringing because it's designed to get people to call you, or on the website? Which one, or both?
More call-ins or what we get from it. We do post our website on there, emails, address as well, but most of it is from actually direct calls. We are seeing more, I would say probably 3 to 4 a month emails. Hey, I got a mailer. Can you give me a call, or can you give me a quote? But that's the initial contact. That's them calling us. It's always better when the prospect calls us instead of us doing cold calls.
Now, you say that, and yet I also know that I think the team does make calls to those people. Yes,
we do. Yeah. We do. Some of the restrictions on those, because of the laws with do not calls, do not solicits, it does give a little bit of a restriction, but there are people that you can contact, and you can make pretty large lists. And with an auto dialer, you can easily dial 200 to 300 people within a 2-hour time frame. We don't keep anybody in the seat more than about an hour and a half to 2 hours max for dialing, just because it'll burn you out. Yeah. But direct calls like that are oftentimes very productive because those lists are essentially free.
Yeah, and that's well, they're a piggyback off of what you've already done.
Right.
So, and I think this is a big key, because I always tell people a mailer is way more effective when you piggyback it with a phone call. Yes. So it becomes a branding conversation, because how many times have I ever come home, and I'm sure you've done the same, where we get some piece of mail, we look at it, and we open it on the way to the trash can.
Right.
Right. And then we throw it in the trash.
Right.
But then if I get a phone call from you, and then I get another one next week, and then I get another call down the road, I start getting branded. Right.
Correct.
That's the PR piece you're referring to. I start getting branded to think about you, because at the minute my insurance, or whoever it is that I'm thinking about right now, my current insurance causes a problem in any way, shape, or form, I'm just a little annoyed with it.
Right.
I'm going to think, who's that guy that keeps sending me that stuff?
Right. The next time I get one of his things in the mail, I'm calling.
Yeah.
him.
Hold on to that. Right.
Right.
Tell the whole family, when you see that, I need to get that. Right.
Yeah.
And so then I would make the phone call. So then we have a team here that gets round robin. They pick up the phone. We don't have to get into all the details about how you guys do the quoting and all that process, but that's really how you get people in the door.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So we've covered referrals, and we've covered direct mail. Is there any other sources or forms that you?
There's really not that I'm using right now. Those have been the most effective. The issue is now it's just increase the volume. And the way you would do that is increase your circle of influence, whether it's join a chamber of commerce, join a BNI, get more people involved in the BNI, start, another business type network group, Rotary Club, men's meetings, women's meetings, whatever that you may be involved with.
Database is something we constantly are referring to, helping people how to nurture that, how to grow that nest egg. You have mentioned BNI a couple times. You are you're actually an officer, I guess is what it's called.
Yes.
You are part of a BNI group here.
Yes.
So I don't know if this is an opportunity, if you want to give a quick plug on BNI and what it's doing for you. I think you just joined this year, right?
We did. I did. I've been in less than a year. We've had another employee that's been in just over a year, and we have another employee that has been in less than 6 months. BNI is about like any business. There's good businesses and there's not so good businesses. And each BNI has its own culture. Some of them are big and robust and outgoing and lots of fun, and others are very business oriented. It's very organized. Some are very laid back. It just really depends. And so when people say, well, I used to be in a BNI and it just wasn't for me, I would suggest, if you're still wanting a source of referrals, just visit a different BNI. It's a different culture. It's a different atmosphere. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, there's so many different churches. Well, there's a reason why, because each one has its own little culture. Right. And wherever you find that you fit best, that's the one you pour into.
Got it. Yeah. One of my conversations, because, I coach several of your agents here. One of them, I asked, how did you end up doing 11 items in a day? Right. And so she started digging into that. She's one of those that's in the BNI group. Is she the one who's only been 6 months?
6 months.
Yeah. So she said, well, a lot of it I'm getting from referrals from the BNI group. I said, is it the BNI group specifically? She said, well, yes and no, but it's the ones that I'm really getting to meet. I said, well, how are you doing that? Because there's a lot of people that are in BNI that are not getting the level of return that you are.
Right.
And she said, well, probably because, and then she pulled it up on her computer, I've given away 470 something referrals since August.
Yeah.
And that's the you get what you give conversation. Right. Like you guys call it giver's
gain. Yeah. That's the BNI go-to line.
So because she's been so purposeful about connecting people and giving so many referrals, she's beginning to see the return on that investment.
Yes.
So the whole referral conversation is one of the most cost-effective ways for any business. So referrals and direct mail for you on the sales end of it.
Right.
The next area that we focus on is, you would call it service. We usually call that the experience. So we've covered excellence, we've covered exposure. Now we're going to talk about experience. What does your sales or your service team look like? And in terms of how many? And
we have 2 primary service people that just do service. Our sales team is a little bit of a hybrid. It's probably more 75% sales, 25% service. There are some customers that just want to deal with their person. their salesperson. That's the only person they want to deal with. Other people call in, hey, just give me somebody on the phone that can answer my question. And so everybody knows how to do the service, but we have a couple that specifically target toward that. They can do all the endorsements, all the add-ons or takeaways on a policy. They can assist with any aspect of the claim. They can answer typically any question concerning the policy that's in place. Or if they have a sales question, then sometimes they can handle some of those level 1, level 2s, we'll call them. Anything more than that, then they would refer it over to our sales team.
Got it. So when we're talking about the experience at the Stephen Price Allstate agency, is there a how would you describe that? I don't want to, because everybody talks about we're great customer service, you know, and
Right.
And how do we actually provide that? I guess, is there any small things that somebody could implement?
We typically, when we say we follow up, we typically do that. I mean, that, you know, a lot of people will say, well, I'll follow up, or I'll send you an email, or I'll call you back, and they don't. And I would say that 9 times out of 10 that we actually do that. And then when we do, we provide the answer that they're looking for. Because when people call in for service, there's an issue going on with some part of their insurance world, and they need a solution to it.
And you guys take that seriously?
Yes.
Is what I'm saying, what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
Okay. So from an experience standpoint in service, it just sounds so normal to just, that's what you expect, right? Do you guys do anything that's a little bit above and beyond that creates a different level of experience for that you can think of?
I know there are a few agents out there that do things that that I've probably copied from them. We send out birthday cards to all of our customers every month. You know, the January birthdays.
Do you use
are
the
going
service
out
for
now.
that?
We do. We actually use send out cards,
Okay.
or who we're using now. New customers will actually, our service team sends a handwritten thank you card for becoming a new customer.
Perfect.
Typically a phone call every 6 months to each customer. Hey, just wanted to touch base, wanted to get in touch and see if you had any questions. Your review's coming up. Can we get you scheduled? We'd like to bring you in, sit down, go over your policies, see if anything's changed. Life changes pretty fast anymore. We like to get people at least in the office once a year to do a one-on-one review. Spouses, everybody come in to go over what their risks are, what's changed in the last year. Has there been a divorce? Has there been a new child? Has kids moved off to college?
So you guys are proactive about keeping in touch with what's going on. I love some of those things. Some of those seems like such little things, and yet those are the little distinctions. That's why I asked the question the way I did. That makes people feel like they have a better experience with you guys. You don't get to the level of business you're at without doing that level of experience. So anything else you want to add to that before I move to the
no, it's just taking the time to listen to what the customer's saying, and then providing them with the best advice you can to help protect whatever's important to them.
Which is perfect segue to the next piece, because next one is expertise. So how do you handle training? In our world, when we talk about expertise, we're talking about knowing your craft, right? So you are the premier, the best person. We talked about that earlier when we were talking about excellence, when we were talking about hiring and so on. What do you have in place that helps make sure that you set your team up for success?
Well, insurance is an always changing, cyclic industry. And so every year, either rates change or guidelines change. And so you always have to keep on top of it. You can't just walk in and say, okay, well, 6-7 years ago, I read the insurance book. I know about insurance now. And it changes from company to company. Allstate's different than Geico, which is different than State Farm, et cetera. So everybody has their own rules and regulations. We stay on top of that by actually doing daily training. Part of that is training for how to be a better salesperson, how to be a better service person.
Mm-hmm.
And part of that is how to be a more in tune, more educated expert in insurance.
Mm-hmm.
Allstate provides us with the information that they have on the rules and regulations, and we go through those. We don't just assume the answer is correct that we gave 6 months ago, because we know things change. So if there's any question about it, we've got a phone number, we've got a website, we've got emails, we've got chat rooms that we can get the definitive answer to the customer. When it comes to training for sales and service, we use Craig Wiggins coaching. He's a large agency out of Alabama. He's done some phenomenal work, lots of growth. He's helped other agencies grow significantly. And I would say that really that's been the key tool for us to use in helping our staff follow the process from point A to point Z. And yes, there's some styles that you can change and things like that. But if you follow the process that Craig and Joseph and their team have mastered over the last several years, then you will certainly be well beyond where you're at right now.
So you found a model, someone who's doing it at the level you want to be at.
Right. And has done it for years.
And done it for years.
Yes.
And you really, because we talk about modeling in a lot of our course, a lot of the stuff that we train, you find a model, somebody's already doing what you want to do, and stop reinventing the wheel.
Right.
Do what they're doing. So you found Craig Wiggins, and you guys are, you mentioned daily training. Is that from Craig? Is that from Allstate? How does that look?
Craig offers it on a program that they have through the Craig Wiggins coaching. There's different levels you can sign up on. Obviously, there's a fee that's associated with it because it is valuable material. And so what we expect, and it's a volunteer thing. I mean, you have to basically volunteer, okay, I commit to doing this program. Well, if you don't do the program, you're not going to get the results. What we require of our staff is they have to watch at least 2 modules every day. That's a standard. That's an everyday thing. Just like they've got to hit numbers, certain numbers a month, that type of thing. They have to watch 2 modules every day.
Perfect.
It's not an option. It's a have to. So,
and how often does, I don't want to get too much into what necessarily what Craig and them are doing. How are they producing enough content where you guys have
there are
2 a day?
I would say there are probably over 5,000 videos.
Okay, so there's plenty of videos.
Yes. And these guys are accessible, email, chat, phone calls. You can get in touch with them. They're the kind of guys that want to help people grow. That's really what they want to do, is have other agencies get to where they are, even surpass them.
Sure.
And so they offer a phenomenal program to help agents do that, but you got to follow the process.
Right. So I as a coach, it's what I'm hearing is you got to have a coach, you got to have people that actually pour into you, and you've got to follow the process. Right. So I guess if somebody was looking to, what's the tidbit for me to move forward, find somebody who's doing what you want to do and model that behavior. And if they have a coaching program available, get in it, is what I'm hearing. Anything else that you're using in the expertise world, and then it's helping them with their training, making sure that they're better at what they do?
I always encourage any kind of motivation, self-help, things that are going to make them a better communicator, a better networker. Maybe it's not an official program that we have, but I read a lot. I go back and read some of the classics like Dale Carnegie and people like that, Tony Robbins, any of those types of motivating entrepreneurial type books, how to treat the customer better, how to be a better service person, how to be a better salesperson. I encourage everybody to read and get involved with those types of programs as much as they do. Those aren't requirements, but I think if you want to be in this industry, you're going to want to always better yourself. And so you're always looking for better ways to do things.
And I think as a testament to that, that's the reason I'm actually in this office regularly, because that's practically what I'm bringing to the table.
Right.
I don't know all the things that Craig Wiggins would have, right? Because it's all insurance.
Right.
What I'm complimenting is those pieces that you were just referring to.
Exactly. And that's been, your services have been a big help for our staff. I get compliments, and you may hear some of these, you may not, but I get compliments every day that you're here in the office. The follow-up day is, man, Spencer really helped me with this issue I was having yesterday. I finally kind of broke through the wall on this one because of some things Spencer said yesterday. Mm-hmm. And so that one-on-one with the staff has been a big wall that we were able to scale and get over. And so thanks.
Yeah, well, we're looking forward to well, we're looking forward to, as we move into 2020. I got one more area, and then I'm going to go back real fast and just touch on maybe some of the things you're adjusting for 2020, and then we'll wrap this up, because we're going on an hour now.
Okay.
I don't know if you realize that.
No, I didn't.
So, executive. So when we're talking about executive, we're talking about how, planning. Mm-hmm. It's kind of, we don't have to get into the legal or the financial piece of it, but those are the pieces that we usually deal with when we're talking to a business owner. Just overall, I guess, do you have any business partners? Is it just you?
I actually have a financial partner that I work with. I mean, I own this agency, but I partner with a financial guy who he also partners with some other agents in town to specifically look towards the financial aspect.
Got it. Any tips on conversation around the finances, how you manage it, how often, what do you use?
Get a good accountant. Allstate now offers some analytics through a company called Club Capital, which they can also do accounting, bookkeeping, and analytics. I think that's one piece of the puzzle that has kind of been missing for me anyway. I'm not a big numbers guys, and I know that there are some guys out there that are really good at numbers that do a better job than I do, but if you struggle any with seeing exactly the numbers that give you a clearer view, then analytics really help a lot with that. And that would be through Club Capital. Again, having a good accountant that is going to help you, whether it's with your budget, your spending, your cash flow. They're worth the $300, $400, $500 you may be spending a month on keeping on top of that. Obviously, a good attorney, somebody that you can get in touch with for some legal issues that may come up periodically.
Do you have more than one attorney? Just one attorney?
Just one. Okay. Just got one guy that I've worked with since we started, and honestly, I've not had to use him that much. He's reviewed a couple of contracts for me. But again, if there's ever a question of a legal matter, you want to make sure it's cleared up, because you don't want to be going down and then 5-10 years down the road, all of a sudden something come to bite you, and you could potentially lose your business over a simple matter that costs $500 to resolve.
You could have handled early on.
Yeah.
What about planning? How do you handle all of that? Because that's probably one of the biggest challenges for business owners, to get so enveloped in all this stuff.
It is. Analysis paralysis is a common term used, and you get to looking at these spreadsheets and things, and you just kind of go numb, and you just get frozen. And you've actually helped a lot in getting out of that with the worksheets that we do, the wrap sheet, I think you call it.
Yep. WRAP, just in case anybody's curious. That's weekly results and planning.
And that's been a big help. And me not being a big process person, that's kind of helped me focus on, okay, here's the specific things for the year that we want to see, the big view for 2020, which we just finished. And then you break it down to a monthly view, and then to a weekly view, and then pretty much to okay, what do I need to do today? What's important? What do I have to knock out today?
Right.
And as long as I'm plugging that in and doing that, I can actually measure the progress. And that's what I think most agents want to be able to do, is how do I measure what I'm doing and know that I'm making progress?
Right. So you have a process for yourself. How often are you reviewing this?
At least once a week, if not twice a week.
Okay. And then I think that's pretty self-explanatory. I could really dig into this, because there's a lot of pieces and nuances to that process. But I can't tell you how many business owners I have to tell, if you would just get into the rhythm of that weekly review, where am I at, where am I headed, and what needs to be done.
Right.
And getting into that rhythm, so much is taken care of because we stop drifting at that point. We become very, very intentional about what we're doing. So, real quick, let's go back through these in the opposite order. So we're going to go back up this scale and maybe just touch a little bit about what some of the adjustments you're making as we go into 2020, because I believe your intention is to grow by about 20-something%.
Correct.
Yeah. So that's not small considering the size of your book already.
Right. This last year, we actually grew around 37%. But
that was taking over
one agency. But we still had some good organic growth in addition to that. And so our numbers are clearly much higher this year for just new business written than what it was last year. And having 2 locations did help with that. But the written business that we did was a good 30+% over what we did last year.
Wonderful. So we're looking to increase again.
Correct.
So real fast, any changes in the financial, legal, or the planning aspects? Anything?
There's really not. We've got everybody in place right now, and it's just a matter of letting those things starting to kind of filter out.
Anything new that you guys have implemented or changing with the expertise part, with the training and getting people better?
Our office manager now, we have a weekly powwow, weekly meeting every Monday morning, 8:00. We come in, we look at where were we last week, where are we right now, and where we're going to be at the end of the week.
Got it.
And those are kind of the key things. It's a 15-20 minute chat that is pretty quick. Some quick question answers initially. It's not a deep, big meeting about business issues per se. That's more of a sales and service. Let's get it done.
Right.
Pep talk.
It's almost it's a dashboard view. Where are we at on the scoreboard?
Right.
What's happening? What are we going to do?
What are you going to do this week? Where are you this week? What do you have in the
And you
pipeline?
just implemented that very recently.
We just did that starting really probably 1st of December, and that has gone very well, and that has also helped us keep focus.
Got it. From an experience standpoint or the service end of it, any adjustments, things that you're doing in that area to increase what's going to help us maintain or get higher at 20 to that increase, I guess?
As far as on the service side, again, we can always do better at service, reaching out to the customers, making sure they're well informed, they're educated, making sure we're educated, and following up. We do have a process in place specifically for follow-up with some software that we have, and it's going to make it a lot easier, I think, to do that. Just a cleaner, simpler process.
So we added an extra layer to
Yes.
make sure that we have all the follow-up necessary.
Yeah.
Got it.
And accountability goes with that too, because with our office manager, he follows up and says, did you do what you said you were going to do?
Right. Even though, that bleeds into the service. And then, of course, it also bleeds into the sales or the exposure piece. So when you're talking about referrals and you're talking about direct mail, any adjustments this coming year or this year that you've made to make sure that we get the increase that you're after?
We're looking into a couple of the chambers of commerce local. One of our salespeople has a pretty big circle of influence in one of the areas of our offices, and they will be getting into a chamber probably within the next month or so, and I suspect that's going to be a large pipeline for them. Perfect.
Any adjustments to direct mail, or we're just going to do 2,000 like
we're
you've been doing?
Right now we're gonna stay at 2,000 a week. It would be nice if we could increase that because the return's going to stay the same. So the only way to get a bigger return is to increase the volume. Yeah.
And or maybe be more aggressive about the phone calls.
Yes.
Follow up.
Yeah.
That's another option too. Yeah. Right. Oops. All right. Last one. Any adjustments made for 2020 for our culture and our maintaining this new culture of progress that you've got going on around here?
Bring in new talent. We're already trying to build a bench for new talent in sales specifically. So we're wanting to add to our team, and again, I think bringing in the right person, the right personality, the right energy, the right attitude that's going to enhance what we already have.
And we didn't ask this earlier, but how many salespeople do you have currently?
We currently have 4 salespeople. One of those is also an office manager, but they do sales as well.
So really 3 full-time sales.
3 full-time sales,
Okay.
2 dedicated service, and then myself.
Okay. And you're looking to hire
at least 2 salespeople this year.
So you'll round out the year then with 5 total salespeople, a sales manager. I'm assuming the 2 service people.
Probably an additional service or assistant service person by the end of the year.
So you've got a lot going on.
We do.
You have. I'm excited about what you guys have going on, and I have. I've already your service manager I met with yesterday, or not service. Your manager, office manager, met with yesterday, and I've already challenged him with the idea of a $10 million book versus just the $1 million increase. Yeah. So that has already got his wheels turning, which is a good thing.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about what the Stephen Price Agency is going to do. I am extremely grateful for you taking the time. This has been a lot of time and a lot of excellent information. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you if they wanted to ever reach out and just ask you a question or talk to you?
They can call me on my cell phone or text me, 803-381-8086.
Okay.
They can email me, stephenprice@allstate.com.
That's with a V or a PH?
With a V.
V. Okay.
And an N, Stephen.
Okay.
And so those are probably the 2 best, easiest ways to get in touch with me.
Perfect. Well, thank you again. And
Thank you.
If you guys need anything from me, of course, you know how to get in touch with me. And thanks for hanging out with us for our case study here with Stephen Price.